This is the Tom Leykis Show.
Everything you say is the fucking truth, man.
Now, from the New Normal Studios in Burbank,
There's no doubt about it.
Tom Leykis.
Thank you for tuning into the Tom Leykis Show. This is where you hear us live Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Pacific Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 24/7 at tom.show. You can hear us at our free app. Get it at the App Store. Get it at Google Play. Or get it at tomeverywhere.com. That's tomeverywhere.com. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for being part of the program. We appreciate it. Here we are together again, you and me. And we are joined in this segment by a guest who's appeared with us one time before, and the response was huge, and it reverberated for months after it occurred. Paul Elam, the CEO of A Voice for Men. Paul, thank you for joining us. Oh, am I supposed to punch that up? I didn't do that. Paul, excuse me, give that a shot again. Thank you for joining us.
Of course. I'm really glad to be here, Tom.
Good to have you back. You're aware, as I am, the huge response we got the last time you were here. It was mammoth.
And I enjoyed every minute of it. It was a great conversation with you. Been looking forward to this one.
Well, we're going to have a great one today. We're going to start your hour, Paul, by listening to something that we're doing the show live on Tuesday, June 14th. And this is the Vice President of the United States, Joe Biden. And here is what he had to say today.
I've now spoken to a significant number of colleges and universities from the Northwest to the Southeast, all across the country. When I show up on campuses, and some of you may have been there, it generates somewhere between 1,500 and 4,000 students. And I ask them all to take the pledge to intervene when they see something. I speak directly to the young men and point out it's their responsibility. Alcohol abuse on campuses certainly makes the problem worse, but the answer isn't to shame women for drinking. We have to educate everyone about the importance of respect and mutual and affirmative consent. And consent isn't, well, I didn't hear no. Sex without consent is rape. It is full stop rape. And if you cannot consent because you are unconscious, it is rape. It is rape, period. So everyone, from the president of universities to the deans to faculties to coaches to students themselves, everyone has a responsibility to begin to change the culture on campuses, and I'm convinced we can. There is no excuse when a higher institution of learning failed to protect a precious child that we entrust to them because they worry about their reputation. But we all know the problem goes beyond college campuses. By the way, the Department of Education is investing well over 100 universities right now to determine whether or not they're doing what they have a responsibility to do to protect their students. And if they find they did not, they will be denied federal funding. But if there's guys in the office, you guys in the audience, we've got to overcome this social discomfort of calling out the misogyny that happens when no women are present. The locker room talk, the bar banter, the rape jokes. As a man, maybe it makes you uncomfortable, but if you let it pass because you want to become one of the guys, you become an accomplice. In colleges, in high schools, in workplaces, on the street. And this sexist talk perpetuates the idea that women are somehow fundamentally less deserving of basic human dignity than men. It preserves the social norms that are damaging and wrong. Men often don't call out their peers because they are worried men will judge them as not being manly enough. When we change the social norm, through changes in the law, changes in attitude, changes in social expectations, we empower men and women. to take actions they might not have taken otherwise. We transform bystanders into advocates. That's what I mean by changing the culture. That's why I'm going to continue to travel long after this job is over to college campuses all across America. That's on us taking the pledge to promise to intervene when they see something, to create an environment where sexual assault is unacceptable. As I point out to these young men on campuses, as a fraternity party, you see a co-ed that is absolutely stone drunk. You see one of your brothers walking her upstairs. If you don't have the courage to walk up and say, "Hey, Jack, not in my house," you are an accomplice. You are an accomplice.
Well, Paul Elam, what's wrong with that?
Oh my God, where to start? That was painful. That was absolutely painful to listen to. I think Vice President Biden has been spending too much time reading Tumblr feminist blogs and not enough time getting acquainted with the real world. It had a feel, kind of, Tom, sort of like a speech out of 1936 Berlin, where you have people looking out to tell on each other for something that may or may not even be something wrong. It was a scary talk, and it's a talk that flies in the face of the evidence. So one thing, I think the first thing I want to say about that is that Vice President Biden and President Obama need to read the recommendations from an organization named RAINN. It's Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network. They are the largest victims advocate organization about sexual assault in the entire world. They are mostly a feminist organization, and they issued a report last year urging the White House to quit using this rhetoric about rape culture, pointing out that rape is something that happens by a small number of criminally minded individuals. I mean, hey, on the side note, if you want to talk about rape culture, let's look at our prisons. But, hey, they're guys, so who cares, right? But rape on campuses happens by an incredibly small number of men. They're not representative of men as a population. And for Joe Biden to be up there giving that condescending lecture to an entire university room full of men, and even worse, to hear some of the dumb son of a bitches clapping for what he had to say, pretty alarming.
By the way, we, I guess, are accomplices, because from time to time we've seen a man with a woman who's had some drinks and they're heading up to have sex. So I guess now we're criminals too. Right. And by the way, you will note that according to stories I've read in the last 24 hours, the second wife of the Orlando shooter was with the shooter when he was casing Walt Disney World and the Pulse nightclub. And she said she tried to talk him into not doing that. So did she call 911? Did she report that to the authorities? Oh, no. She apparently left her husband, and said nothing to anyone who could have stopped it. But I don't hear the president or the vice president calling her an accomplice.
Well, she ought to be in jail.
I agree. That's a whole other culture that we have where women can do these things and get away with them.
Oh, absolutely. And this stuff's been going on for exactly 900 years. We've been getting fooled by the idea of chivalry for women since the 12th century. And because men are so easy to manipulate by damsels, it spread like herpes in a whorehouse, and we've had it ever since.
So what damage is this doing by essentially labeling just about every man in America a rapist? Because that's what you just did. Rather than talking about people who commit violent crime, you are now calling people accomplices or rapists who have never done any such thing. But simply because they saw two people in a lobby at a hotel heading up to a room, now we're criminals too.
Well, yeah. Well, one of the things that happens with this, Tom, is you end up like on college campuses, you see men falling out of education like flies. We're down to about 40% of college campuses being populated by men, and it's still dropping rapidly because the environment is so hostile there. And guess what? If you want to end up with a guy that has an assault rifle in his hand, how about not educating him, putting him out of range of employment, and giving him a frustrating, anger-filling life? How about that for a good way to start on mass shootings?
Right. So here we have now people using this phrase, rape culture, and I've been dying to get your take on that phrase. What does that mean to you?
Well, it means a bit more feminist bullshit. I mean, they have, along with the wage gap myth and dozens of others, and the lie that domestic violence is all perpetrated by men against women victims. I mean, there's a whole string of feminist lies. Rape culture is one of them, and it all goes back to the dollars. I mean, there isn't a rape culture. Even RAINN has said it. There's no evidence. We have laws on the books that are highly punitive about rape. Even in the recent Stanford rape case, somebody saw something going wrong, and two guys intervened. Our culture, on a cultural level, you never hear guys sitting around a table talking about the women they raped. I don't hear rape jokes from people. What you hear is that rapists are scumbags. That's what the cultural value is. It's reflected in our law. It's always been that way. This is just something born out of the feminist imagination that allows you to set up special campus programs where they need to have a campus employee and government employees and bureaucracies around it, and that's exactly what Joe Biden's calling for. This is a money game. This is another politician out there making a speech, stirring up fear that's irrational, demonizing an entire half the population in order to get votes and to get money. That's all rape culture is to me.
And since rape is already illegal, and well, it should be,
Sure.
Isn't that what the police department is for? Or in an extreme case or across state lines, the FBI is for? Why should college campuses be spending money on this when it's already against the law to rape someone? Why?
Well, part of it is the Dear Colleague letter that was issued in 2011 instructing universities that they had to handle sexual assault allegations, which are a criminal matter. I mean, it's absolutely insane to put unqualified people in the law in charge of investigating something as serious as a sexual assault, but also telling them they had to lower their standards from clear and convincing evidence to a preponderance of the evidence. And they don't allow the accused to have legal representation. They don't allow them to refute evidence against them. And they don't allow them to question their accuser in the proceedings. So it's basically they've set up star chambers, witch trials for anybody accused. And at A Voice for Men, I get communication all the time from young men whose lives are being destroyed. In one case, the most recent one, is his girlfriend pointed the finger at him 3 years after the alleged incident. And now there's a tribunal being set up against him.
That's outrageous. I mean, most laws have some kind of statute of limitations, don't they?
Well, this isn't even a judicial process. It's an extrajudicial process that's going on in the schools. And they are, I mean, maybe defend the school administrations a little bit. They are under the gun by the administration, the president's administration, to conduct these star chambers, or they'll lose federal funding. That's what the Dear Colleague letter was about. So it's being coerced by the government all over something. Now, of course, I'm not saying rape doesn't exist. It does exist, and it's wrong. And, of course, anybody with two brain cells to rub together knows that. But rape culture or a massive epidemic of rape on campuses that feminists are selling is not happening. It's just simply not happening, and they're having to manufacture offenders in order to make it look like that it is. What's going on is the most Kafkaesque stuff that I think has happened since the McCarthy era in the United States.
And it has had concrete effects, because who would ever believe in our lifetime we would see the majority of college students be women. The majority of people getting degrees to be women. Male attendance at universities has continued to go down, and I've got to believe this has something to do with it.
Sure it does. I mean, how could a hostile environment toward men not have something to do with whether or not young men decide to even finish school?
It's outrageous and frustrating. And, of course, because we are saying this, Paul, and you know this as well as I do, we will be called misogynists or worse, rape advocates.
I have already been called pro-rape, pro-domestic violence, misogynistic. You name it, I've been called it 100 times over. And that is the tactic. You demonize people that raise reasonable objections, like, for instance, what Joe Biden was talking about in that speech. He's trying to make it so his message was that there's something unsavory or unfair about us telling young women, hey, you know something, going to a frat house and drinking yourself into the point of unconsciousness around a bunch of drunk male college students may not be a good idea. Telling them that is rape apology. Telling them that is shaming them. No, it's good advice that any father would give his daughter. But now they want to make that something sinister, and they are promoting rape. They are promoting the idea for women that it doesn't matter what you do. Sure, go get smashed and go walking by yourself at 3 a.m. in a bad neighborhood because nobody's supposed to rob you. Nobody's supposed to bring harm to you. It is like telling people, leave your house unlocked, leave your car keys in and your car running when you shop for groceries because, you know, people aren't supposed to steal your car. We can't even practice common sense anymore without it being demonized by these feminist idiots.
What really gets to me is not that women are saying these things, because anybody who can make hay with this stuff is going to. Why more men don't speak up against it?
I think they're scared, but I also think, because, you know, nobody wants to be called a misogynist. I mean, I've been called all those things, and I don't let it bother me that much, but I certainly don't like it. And it's sort of part of my job description to get called a woman hater, so I can't complain too much about it. But I'm sure young men in college don't want to be labeled misogynist, which is how that they're shutting them up. But the other factor is that, you know, I hate to say it, but just a whole lot of men are feminized pussies. They won't stand up for themselves. They won't stand up for their friends. They're getting thrown under the bus by the system. For every young college man that I talk to that's being railroaded by one of these star chambers, he's got a bunch of friends, and they're more likely to turn on him because they don't want to lose popularity with female students at that school than they are to come say, wait a minute, you know, this is a good guy. He didn't do anything wrong. We live in a culture of weak men. I mean, it's one of the reasons I'm honestly, and I'm not trying to kiss butt here, but I'm thankful as I can possibly be for what you do. Because you're one of the few voices out there, a small amount of voices that are actually allowing men to have spines and encouraging it.
It's really the core of everything we believe here is that men are pussies. And that men need to stand up and say no, and they need to stand up and say no in any number of ways. We're not talking about sex when we talk about saying no. We talk about no marriage, no giving money to women, no doing them favors. Did you see the guy in New York City who goes to the bathroom at Target and donates sperm to women who want to become pregnant? I mean...
I didn't see that.
Oh, my God. And the guy was on the front page of the New York Post. He heads into the stall at Target, and he masturbates to pornography on his iPhone, and then he gives the sperm to women who want to get knocked up. No charge, ladies. I'm just here to help. And I think he was sued for child support at least 10 times and lost and continues to do this.
Oh,
this is the kind of thing I'm talking about. No sperm, no money, no helping them move. You ladies, you live in your place, and I'm going to live in my place. And that's that. And as far as college
No
campuses are
people
concerned, no having sex with people on your own college campus. Have sex with somebody on a different college campus. Don't have sex with women who work at your office. Find a woman who works at a company down the hall or in the next building or across the street. But stop fishing off the company pier, because you will ultimately lose. You will ultimately be sued. You ultimately lose your job. You'll ultimately pay the price.
And it's a shame how many men will hear this, because there's no assailing the logic of what you're saying. It's true. Every last single word of it is 100% true, but there are millions of men that will hear that and still walk away and go to bed with any woman that'll have them.
Exactly right. And, and the other thing, the other end of this that I find fascinating, and I'm sure you've seen this, you have women wondering where the real men are, or where are men who are willing to step up and get married and have babies and raise families? Where are those men? And I know exactly where those men are. They're listening to this show. They're logging onto your website. They are staying away from women. They are using virtual reality porn to get off. They are living by themselves, or they're living with male roommates, and they're avoiding getting involved. These men are not afraid. These men are smart.
Absolutely. It is the unconscious wisdom of a lot of our young men to just check out. Some of them couldn't even articulate why, but they know it's dangerous. They've seen what happened to their fathers for getting married and for putting themselves in a vulnerable place with the state. Because make no mistake about it, when you get married, you're marrying the state. The state owns your ass the moment you get married. Because when it comes to an end, she goes away, but guess the state stays there and stays and stays and stays. And finally, we're seeing a reduction in the amount of men that are willing to get married. So there is some of this message catching on, thanks to the work that people like you are doing. But, man, I got to tell you, it's still, I know somebody right now in my personal life I've known for 30 years, been married 3 times, getting ready to get married again.
Unbelievable. Doesn't he read any of this stuff? Doesn't he know any of this? He knows you, for God's sake. Why is he doing that?
He's got more yes buts than a crackhead. Yes, I know all this, but yes, I know that, but my cupcake's not like that. My cupcake wouldn't do anything like that, like the last 3 that took him to the cleaners.
And I wonder also, if these guys are going to get married, why don't they have ironclad prenuptial agreements that will stand up in court?
Well, I'm in Texas, Tom. There's no such thing as an ironclad prenup. The judges throw them out the moment you get in there.
Oh, my. And the other thing is, why sign that contract? If I were in Texas and I were inclined to have a relationship, I simply would say, look, I'm not signing that paper. We're together. And if you want to be together, we'll stay together. But I'm not signing any piece of paper that is going to be an agreement that I'm going to regret down the line.
I will say this for your Texas listeners. Texas is a good state for one thing. You really have to work at it. You have to present evidence to be vulnerable to the law as a common law situation. I've been in the same relationship for 14 years, but I have zero legal vulnerability. And I never will. I'll never get married, and I'll never put anything out there in public like a shared bank account or anything like that says, that we're sharing assets whatsoever. And, I mean, I've been smart enough, and I recommend to your listeners, which I'm sure you already have a million times, talk to a lawyer in your area that understands these issues and get the legal lowdown of what applies to you. But there's nothing that can be done to me legally other than a false accusation in my relationship. And hell, if you date somebody one time, you can get one of those. But I maintain a zero vulnerability lifestyle, and I don't understand any man who doesn't. I just don't get it.
Well, I think an awful lot of men do not even now realize how perilous, how dangerous it is to sign any document, whether it's co-signing for somebody's car loan or getting married. I don't think people understand what kind of trouble that can get them into in today's society.
You can tell them, though, and that's the thing which goes back to what you said about men being weak. And, I mean, the level of denial is incredible because you can present them with all the facts. Here's the deal. You know that house that you ate peanut butter and jelly for 2 years so you could put down a down payment? She gets mad at you, it's gone. The cops will come in there and put you in handcuffs and drag you out of your own home. And she'll be screwing the pool boy while you're in jail. And that is the reality. That's the legal reality of it. And guys, it's when you talk to guys, you see that sort of, almost religious glazing over of the eyes in the conversation. They just can't wrap their head around it. They want this woman's approval, acceptance, and love so bad that they'll just get on their knees and put their head on the chopping block for them. And that's insane.
It really is insane. And just as with all these comments about rape culture, and we're all criminals and we're all rapists, and it reminds me of those things after the horrible shootings in France. Yeah, we're all Paris. No, we're not. No, we're not. The people who suffered that tragedy are in way worse shape than the rest of us. And we are not them. And frankly, you see how much we care about them 6 months, 8 months later. We don't care nearly as much as everybody thought we did. And I think in this particular case, we're not all rapists. We're not all criminals or misogynists. And by the way, having an opinion now makes you a misogynist. Saying, I don't want to have babies with women, or I don't want to spend money on women. I'm called a misogynist for saying things like that. That doesn't mean I hate you. The fact that I don't want to give money to a relative stranger doesn't make me a misogynist. It makes me smart.
Well, it's socially enforced chivalry and legally enforced. I mean, you say you don't want to have a baby with somebody because you obviously don't want to end up paying child support and having a kid that hates you when it's 18 years old because that's what they do to you. That makes you a misogynist, but that just goes back to the role of man is to take care of women like they're children. And anybody who argues, who actually asserts that women are grown-ups, that they're adults and are capable of accountability and self-responsibility, that's misogyny. I got no answer for it. It's a crazy world. The only thing I can do and what I dedicate my life to is trying to get men, particularly younger men, while they still got a chance to look at this and make some wise choices about their lives before their lives end up being one big mess. Because, I mean, I don't think most guys really know until it happens just how bad it can get.
Well, I love to turn these things around. I love to say I'm America's original feminist. And because I am a feminist, I believe in equality. And that means I want you to pay for your own place to live. I want you to pay your own bills, your own phone bill, your own internet bill, pay your own student loans off. I don't want you coming to me and asking me to do that. I believe as an equal, independent woman, you are capable of doing that. So don't be coming to me and asking me to help you. You don't need my help. You can stand on your own. You're an independent woman. Women love to say how independent they are until it comes to demanding alimony, child support. How about the guy in England who became a millionaire years after he divorced his wife? This is in England now. And a judge came along and said that he owed her hundreds of thousands of pounds, even though they had broken up years before.
And they gave it to her.
Right. This is the kind of thing I'm talking about.
It's hard to imagine how guys read stories like that and still think that marriage might be a good idea.
Right. Why do they,
Tom, how many of your viewers, what percentage of your viewers or of your listeners, or let's phrase it differently, of the general population of men, what percentage would you estimate have the spine to look a woman in the eye and say, look, if you want to go out together, that's fine, but you need to pay for your share.
Most of them don't. Most of them don't. And I'm not ashamed to say that if I pay the cost of taking you out to dinner at some point in the near future, I expect to have sex with you. And if you don't expect to have sex with me, just pay for your own dinner. Nothing misogynistic about that. I mean, I don't see why I should have to pay for the whole date in any case. But if you're going to tell me I have to pay to take you out to dinner, then I'm telling you I expect a quid pro quo. And if you don't like it, hit the bricks, lady.
Exactly right. That way, one of the things I've told women before was that, you know how much you hate guys that they buy you dinner and then you feel like you got to tell them, well, that doesn't mean I owe you sex. And I hate it when guys pay for dinner and think that means I owe you something. Well, pay for your own fucking dinner.
Right. Right. Stop expecting us to pay for things. And by the way, there's a whole bunch of other things I want you to stop expecting. And stop expecting me to come pick you up for a date. All right? You got your own car. You got your own vehicle. And if you don't like the way the date is going, leave the date and get in your car and go home. Don't expect me to take you home and leave me in the dark about how the date is going or what's going to happen. Drive your own independent self to dinner and then drive yourself home. And by the way, when you get there, we're going Dutch. So plan on paying for your half. And if you don't like it, go find another guy. Now, there's no way I'm going to spend money on women like that, and that does not make me a misogynist. That makes me smart. And any man who avoids getting married,
just like you said.
Right? Any man who doesn't want to get married, he's not a misogynist. He's not a little boy. He's not Peter Pan. It's not that he doesn't want to grow up. He doesn't want to pay for your ass and then later hear how you are so independent and you don't need men, and you'll divorce us, and you'll take half of everything we've got. And all the while, there you are, Amber Heard. There you are saying, I deserve to get paid. I was with you for 18 whole months.
Yeah, oh, man, what a joke that one is.
Right? It's an amazing
thing. That's what
thing.
marriage brings you.
That's what you get. It's super frustrating. Paul, we're going to take a date. I was going to say take a date here. We're going to take a break here. And we come back. Let's talk a bit about A Voice for Men. And we're going to take some phone calls coming up, too. And the calls are already coming in. Certainly, we're covering a lot of ground here. And you are welcome to join us on any of these subjects. Just call us at this number right now. 901-3000-TOM. That's the number. 901-3000-TOM. Come on, boys, let's go. 901-3000-866.
Serving the universe from an old laundromat in Burbank.
901-3000-TOM.
This is the Tom Leykis Show.
We've got to overcome this social discomfort of calling out the misogyny that happens when no women are present. The locker room talk, the bar banter, the rape jokes. As a man, maybe it makes you uncomfortable, but if you let it pass because you want to become one of the guys, you become an accomplice. In colleges, in high schools, in workplaces, on the street. This sexist talk perpetuates the idea that women are somehow fundamentally less deserving of basic human dignity than men. It preserves the social norms that are damaging and wrong. Men often don't call out their peers because they are worried men will judge them as not being manly enough.
What do you think about that, Paul Elam? Are guys making jokes in locker rooms accomplices to rape? Are they rapists? So what's the deal?
Well, I guess apparently, according to Joe Biden, they are. I never knew that telling a joke or having fun in the locker room, like guys have been having as long as they've had locker rooms, is now some sort of rape apology or rape promotion. But hey, what can I say? This guy's thinking is a little different, I think, than most normal people.
Being from Pennsylvania, speaking of rape and locker rooms, you would think there'd be more comments about Jerry Sandusky or Penn State University, wouldn't you?
Well, you'd think so, but you know what also I think, and Joe Biden has talked about this before, when he was growing up, his sister used to beat the crap out of him, and I mean routinely, just beat the living shit out of him, and the rule in his family was that if he fought back, he would have got beaten worse. So I'm not trying to make excuses for poor old Joe. But he did come from an abusive home where there was a female perpetrator regularly doling out physical abuse to him, and the family rules were that they would go nuclear on you if he defended himself. So I guess what we're seeing is Joe Biden's family pathology repeating itself as a politician.
Paul, tell us all about A Voice for Men. Obviously, there's many of our listeners who are familiar with your website and familiar with what you do. But obviously, I want to familiarize everybody else with what you do.
Well, our job at A Voice for Men is really just we call it, our tagline is changing the cultural narrative. What our only aim, we're not political in nature. We don't lobby for different laws. We don't take up social causes. We simply give men and women a place to speak out against the insanity, the sexual insanity of the times, things like rape culture, things like domestic violence law. I mean, you name it, you know these issues as well as anybody. And we do it in a provocative enough way that people take notice, and a lot of it, they have to roll out like a whole showroom full of fainting couches for how feminists react to some of the material on the site, because it is very provocative. But it is meant to inspire, one, men to know that they can speak up about this and survive, that the world is not going to fall apart simply because they have a spine and they talk about things. And the other thing is to provoke some of the major players, people like Jessica Valenti and Amanda Marcotte and others like that. And, of course, we've been attacked by the SPLC as a hate group because, just like you said, if you say, I don't want to get married and I don't want to have a child with you and I don't want to pay for your dinner and I don't want to change your flat tire, that apparently means hating women. So we got that tag from the SPLC. But our job is simply to provoke conversation. By the way, if I'm allowed to, I want to plug it here. This July 8th through the 10th, we're having our second international conference on men's issues for 3 days, 8th, 9th, and 10th of July. You can get a link to get tickets to it. There's only a handful left. It's nearly sold out. We have people speaking there who I believe Erin Pitsey has been on your show before.
Oh, yeah.
She is speaking there. We have Minister of Parliament Phil Davies speaking, one of the only politicians in Great Britain that has the nuts to stand up and speak some of the truth. We have Karen Strawn. I'll be speaking there. 22 speakers from 16 countries over a 3-day conference gathering, and we're hoping in one of our future conferences to have Tom Likas in that lineup. So I'll let you know, Tom, we're coming for you.
Please do. Absolutely. We've got callers here, and why don't we get to some of those? Paul Elam is our guest. It's A Voice for Men. It's avoiceformen.com. And here is the phone number, 901-3000-TOM. 901-3000-TOM to talk to Paul. 901-3000-866. Here's another Paul. Paul from Sydney on the Tom Likas Show for Paul Elam. Hello.
G'day, Tom. G'day, Paul. How you going?
Doing great. What can we do for you, Paul?
Two of my favourite people on the air at the same time. It's fantastic. Men. I don't think men sometimes get how bad coming out of a marriage can be. I know more than one guy. There's a friend of mine that's going through this at the moment. That his kids have been alienated from him. He's been sucked dry going through the legal process, and he's got a court case next week. And if it doesn't go well, he's going to have to make the tough decision. He's going to walk away from his kids. This is how bad these bitches are. you sign up saying till death till you do part and all that sort of crap, but when it splits up, they turn into the most vicious, selfish cunts you can ever imagine. And so you get these people that say deadbeat, then it becomes a sob story, or becomes part of their victim narrative. Oh, well, the father's not in their life, he walked out. And it's because they've made it so fucking impossible for guys to see their kids that at one point guys have to say, you know what, I don't want to do it, but I'm just going to go and live my life. And when they do make that decision, because they're men, and men are fucking strong, their lives are so much better.
What do you think about that, Paul?
Disagree with that. I think one of the things that, I mean, when we're talking on what happens to men during a divorce, I mean, we've been over the talking points a lot, that this story is nothing new. The kids are taken, they're alienated, drained financially, ruined in life. You know, we see typically men have a suicide rate compared to women's of about 4 to 1 or 5 to 1, depending on where you live. During the process of a divorce or long-term breakup, that goes to 10 to 11 to 1 because men are financially ruined. And another reason, and this is something that I try to talk about a lot on, I have a new website too, an earformen.com, and we talk more about the interpersonal aspects of this. One of the things that men do, they're taught. They don't even have a counter narrative. They're raised to see themselves as like Sir Galahad riding in on a white knight, and they rescue a damsel and they take care of her. Men desperately need another narrative to that to see themselves, because of what happens to a lot of guys is that they can survive the financial abuse, they can survive the demonization. What they can't survive is the loss of family, especially the loss of their woman. Even a woman who has destroyed them, who has lied about them in court, who has alienated their children and taken all the money. I've seen guys take those women back over and over and over again, because for men in Western culture, there is a psychological addiction to women. And we have to start teaching young men to confront that, because if they don't go into a relationship thinking, I've got to do anything I can to keep her around, they don't end up thinking that same thing when it all ends. They don't end up near as despondent or desperate or full of grief and ready to kill themselves. Fact is, women are just more human beings, but men elevate them to a status of a deity going into a marriage, and then they work their asses off, taking care of them and trying to make life as comfortable as possible. So naturally, when they get betrayed, they feel the ultimate betrayal, the ultimate hurt. We got to start teaching young men not to go into relationships with women seeing them as anything other than another human being and holding them to the same standards that they would hold a guy to. Like, hey, you know what? If you start acting like a princess, you're out of here. End of story. But we don't teach guys that. We teach them that's normal female behavior, and then they feed into that, and they treat women like princesses. And then just like this caller said very articulately, they end up screwed completely and totally.
I can back that up, Paul, because I used to work on a suicide hotline, and the amount of nights I'd spend there talking to guys that are going through this time and time again. The guy callers, and you look at the stats, like you say, 11 to 1 going through divorce, it's by far men that are going through this. I've got a solution for custody battles, though. I think, I don't think it'll ever happen, but if the assumption is 50-50 care unless two parents agree, and if anyone contravenes that, you get sent to prison. You know, there's a big thing in Australia at the moment about people that kidnap their kids overseas and, you know, things like that, and they've got to go through the Hague Convention to get their kids back. But women, thousands and thousands of women, are in effect kidnapping their fucking kids every day, and nothing happens. And what they say is, well, if we send people to jail, it's not in the best interest of the child. Well, why then in the US do you send fucking millions of fathers to prison for not being able to pay the child support because they've had a bit of bad run at work? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that really helps them pay their child support. Lock them up in jail so they can't work. And these courts saying they act in the best interest of the child, one of the biggest lies going today right in front of our faces. And instead of looking at how family courts are destroying families, including the children, what do? We put the guys on a pizza box as a picture of and we make up terms like deadbeat dad for guys that are just dead broke. It is an obscenity that's going on in front of us. And I think long term, I mean, the law changing is unlikely for a long time. But one thing that we can do is continue to have these conversations and continue to get the idea out there that, you better wake up and ask yourself if a relationship with a princess is what you want. Because that may seem charming short term, may seem like a lot of fun for a few weeks. Try it after 20 years and see how much like you like kissing ass. And then try it after 15 years. And they decide, okay, well, 15 years, you're at your peak income. I've gotten as much as I can out of you, so I need to go find myself. I'll just take it all at everyone's expense. And, don't worry about the kids. They'll get over it. Of course, the kids don't get over it. They're desperate 15, 20 years later for parents to reconcile, to get back together. But that doesn't matter to these women. But the problem to me is that it's not just the women being evil. We've got a system that begs them to be evil.
It sure does. I mean, I appreciate the work that you two do for men all the time, and there's far too many voices out there, and it's not about being bitter or misogynist or all these other stupid words that these fat blue-haired fucking bitches say. It's about telling men that they control their own lives. You do have the power to live a good life, and part of that is not getting married and not issuing your DNA a million blank checks to any old flapper that'll fuck you in a pub toilet. Anyway, can you blow me up, Tom? Thank you very much.
You bet I can, Paul. Here you go. 901-3000 Tom. That's our telephone number. We're here with Paul Elam. It's A Voice for Men. AVoiceForMen.com is where you go. 901-3000 Tom. These are the issues we really care about. 901-3000-866.
Tom Leykis, the Internet's most listened to call-in show. 901-3000 Tom. This is the Tom Leykis Show.
It's the Tom Leykis Show. At 901-3000 Tom, our guest Paul Elam. He's the CEO of A Voice for Men, the website AVoiceForMen.com. And he, my guy, is tired of being called a misogynist, of being called essentially a woman hater, merely because men like Paul and myself, we don't want to support women. We don't want to pay to have kids with them or give them our wealth. Whatever little wealth we have, we don't want to be handing it over. And there's a lot of people who are, look at this, Paul's group has been labeled a hate group for the things that many of us believe. 901-3000 Tom, that's our telephone number. Here is Brandon in Seattle. Brandon, you're on the Tom Leykis Show. Hello.
Hello, Tom, and hello, Mr. Elam. It's a pleasure to speak to both of you.
Thank you so much.
You.
And before I continue with my story, I just wanted to make this quick statement here. I want to say, Joe Biden, suck my natural-born black nuts, you pussy punk bitch. So,
look at that.
I mean, what he said, it's appalling. Because when you know the facts, it does not work that way. It's as if there's this attack on common sense, attack on validity, because now we're supposed to be believing the alleged victim over actual evidence, over actual facts. It's completely ridiculous.
Well, also they're trying to criminalize more and more of us merely for our beliefs. I mean, if I see a guy at a bar and he and the chick have had a few drinks and they're heading home to his apartment, am I supposed to call 911? Am I supposed to tattle on that guy? I refuse. I'm not getting involved. That's not my problem. You know what? I'm not going to assume that everybody who's had a few drinks is a potential rape victim. Because everybody isn't.
Well, Tom, you're not supposed to call 911. You're supposed to step up and tell the guy to take his hands off of that poor little damsel.
And you know what? And that's exactly what my story is about. This was in my previous place of residence, place in downtown Seattle. I'm not going to say exactly which place it is because, some people in the area may actually know what I'm talking about. But there was this lady, and she was drunk as a skunk, and she was just going crazy, going off the wall. I was standing with the receptionist. I was talking to the receptionist before, and she comes down this elevator, and she's just going off the wall about something about her husband or something like that. I mean, it was clear to us that she was drunk, and she was causing a scene. So, the lady at the front desk calls the cops, and she runs to the elevator. Well, almost falls down, and she ends up going to some other guy's apartment. Now, this was somebody I knew. So I knocked on the door because I kind of followed her up there because at first I was going to tell the cops where she was. Then I realized that this was a good friend of mine's apartment, and I didn't want him to get in trouble because he didn't have anything to do with it, and he knew the lady ahead of time, and he was basically trying to get her to calm down and hopefully let her sober up a bit. But overall, it was a really big mistake for either of us to get involved because here we are, two big black guys around this poor, innocent, defenseless white woman. And she could have said that we raped her because, the question came up, well, can't she sleep in my apartment and just sleep it off in my apartment? But I wasn't going to allow that to happen because if she wakes up with some stranger that she doesn't even remember and accuses me of being a rapist, I'm done for. My career's out the window, and everything that I worked for, entire 30-plus years of life, would just be done for. Stick a fork in it. Just call it done. And there was just no way I was going to let that happen. But it eventually got to the point where she slept in some other guy's apartment, and this other guy was, I didn't know at the time that he was a convicted sex offender. And he was like, oh, yeah, she can stay here. No, it's no problem with me. So I was like, well, okay, it's your funeral. I don't know what happened, but for all I know, that guy probably tried to rape her or something. But still, she should have taken some responsibility not to allow herself to get drunk as a skunk around, in a building full of broke guys. A building full of broke guys who have all sorts of drug and alcohol issues themselves. That's just a red flag in itself.
Well, I would say people who go to the bar to drink, they're going there to drink and get laid.
Precisely.
If you're concerned about being taken advantage of, I would say you should be having your parties at home, or perhaps you lay off on the drinking to a certain extent. And again, that doesn't give anyone the right to rape you. Absolutely not. But what I'm saying, I always use as the example, my favorite example. I talk about my car, which I love my car. I drive a Tesla Model S. And what if I took my Tesla Model S and drove it down to, let's say, Compton, to a 7-Eleven to pull in and buy a Slurpee? I pull the car in, I get the music blasting, and I'm going to leave the fob for the car right there in the cup holder because what the hell, I'm only going to be 5 minutes. Now, sure enough, I come out and my Tesla is gone. Now, that's against the law, and I can call 911 and I can report it. But in the meantime, how stupid was I to go to a neighborhood that has a checkered reputation, park my car with the doors open, and go into the store and leave the key in it? That's stupid.
That'd be the dumbest thing ever. You don't leave your cars in the ignition and expect somebody not to steal it. Of course, right. Nobody should be stealing your car, but at the same time, you have to exercise some common sense. Because criminals,
or your insurance company will sure enough not pay. That's insurance companies. If you're negligent with something happening, it's going to affect your claim. But why? Because it's common sense. You have to use some sort of common sense. You have to exercise some sort of caution in life, or insurance companies will say you were negligent. We're not going to pay for this. And they're right, I think, to feel that way. I think we saw the same thing, the Mike Tyson case. Some girl goes to Mike Tyson's hotel room at 2 o'clock in the morning after drinking. What on earth did she expect was going to happen?
With a guy who has a history of not knowing where to draw the line. He's violent in the ring, and he appears to be violent out of the ring, at least at that time in his life.
And that's exactly what attracted her.
Right.
Yeah, it was just a potential suit just waiting to happen.
Well,
by the way, whether you're that woman in Indiana with Mike Tyson or the woman in Colorado with Kobe Bryant bringing hot towels into his room at 12 midnight, going in and engaging in a certain amount of consensual whatever, what are you doing in that guy's room? What are you doing in there? So, you can go after Kobe, and of course, in the end, Kobe was convicted of nothing, and he just ended up paying a substantial sum.
It damaged him for life.
Right.
I mean, just absolute insanity. All that a woman has to do is stand on a chair and shriek about a mouse, and 500 guys will come charging in looking to kill the mouse. Without even thinking about it. That's what's happening to these guys. That's why, man, I tell you what, I wouldn't let a woman in my room at 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm glad whoever it was that the caller was talking about didn't end up in prison, because he sure could have.
Yeah, and it was a good thing that I had listened to the show previously. I've been a fan of the show for years. I mean, I've even been to your website. I've read many of your articles, and listened to all sorts of other people, like even Mark Rudolph, who has also been a guest on the show many years ago. So I just knew that this is fire, and if you're playing with fire, you're going to get burned one way or another. And this is also going to lead me to one more thing that I want to say, and it may be potentially offensive. So all of you listening, you may want to forgive me for. Okay.
and this show,
so
we're very concerned about offending people.
Oh,
I might have to
right.
leave the room, but please go ahead.
All right. But you know what? I noticed that this tends to happen mostly in predominantly white countries. And it seems like white women are just the craziest of the crazies. Now, if you look at the divorce statistics, well, I looked them up, and it is the predominantly white countries that have the highest divorce rates and have the highest paternity fraud rates. The United States, number one in paternity fraud rate, 30%. Number one in divorce, Belgium, 71% divorce rate. And Belgian women, those women are crazy. Those are the most insane women I've ever seen. And it's like, it's gotten to the point where when I see a white woman in public, I just don't stand, I don't go near her, I don't talk to her, I say absolutely nothing. Here at work, now I'm even taking a gamble to stand in the lobby talking to you about this right now. But it's gotten to the point where I don't even talk to white women at work. I don't stand next to them on the streets. If I'm standing next to, if I'm waiting on a crosswalk, white woman walks up, I just walk somewhere else, keep my distance, don't even look at her. It's kind of like the mid 1900s, where in the South, if a black man looks at a white woman the wrong way, then he could be killed for it. It's insane.
Now you could end up in a hollaback video.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with that one, where they sent a woman allegedly for 10 hours on the streets of New York City, white girl, big tits, sent her into predominantly black neighborhoods and recorded people saying good morning to her and then put it out as an evidence of street harassment.
Well, yeah, that is insane. And of course I would have said nothing. I just don't deal with white women in general. I won't touch them with a 10-foot pole if I can avoid it. There's a few good ones out there. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying all white women are like that, but still, if you just look at I mean, the majority of who feminists are these days, it's mostly white women. And the thought of a white woman being oppressed in this day and age, it's the most laughable concept I can think of. And some people will point out India, say, well, Indian women are crazy. They're crazy feminists too. I'll say, well, yeah, well, where did they get it from? They got it from white women. And my opinion, there you have it.
No doubt they're crazy. No doubt. American, and getting crazier, I might add. I mean,
yeah, that too.
Yeah, they are getting crazier. And the thing is, I mean, I see this with a lot of men too, is that there's some sort of mentality that can escape. You know, a lot of white guys will, you know, shop online or travel overseas to meet a woman from the Philippines because they think it's going to be a better deal. And I've seen lots of black guys that go after white women because they think for some reason that they're going to get some more sanity than a black woman will give them. I see a lot of guys trying to cross culture because they are familiar with the women in their own culture and their own insanity. And it's a crazy game of whack-a-mole because no matter what you do, you're going to end up, if you're in the West or now even the East with a woman, whether she's crazy or not, get her around some other women and it's going to end up bad for you anyway.
No doubt about it. Brandon, thank you very much, as always, for the call, Brandon in Seattle. And Paul, for people who did not hear or have not heard, first things first, tell everybody about the conference coming up in London.
Well, again, 8th through the 10th of July, that's coming up very quickly. We're less than a month away now, about 3 weeks at the Excel Center. It's one of the nicest venues in the entire city, and London is a very big city, but we've got a great venue lined up. It's nearly sold out. From the 8th through the 10th of July, we have 22 speakers from 16 different countries around the world coming in to talk mainly about the very kind of conversation that we're having right now with Tom Leykis. It is about gynocentrism. It is about what's wrong with the system, and we're covering it everything from false allegations to domestic violence law to the persecution of young men in colleges to the insanity of feminism. We even have Karen Strawn, great YouTube sensation Karen Strawn, will be talking about toxic femininity. This is a one-of-a-kind conference. I promise you, you will never see a lineup of speakers like this anywhere else except possibly until the next. This is our second international conference on men's issues. We're going to have a great time there. One of the wonderful things about the conference isn't just all the speakers, but the after parties. And we have a blast at these conferences because you can actually be in a room full of hundreds of people that you don't have to look over your shoulder when you talk. Imagine that. You have all these people of like mind that know that these problems exist and that are actually out there doing things about it. They may not be working in the same way Tom does or I do, but they're out there doing something. Some of them specialize, some of them don't. But we even have Mark Pearson. I don't know if you saw the case, Tom, but Mark Pearson was a guy in London who was accused of raping an actress in London on a train platform. The video showed that his interaction with her, which lasted less than a half a second. It was all on video. It couldn't even establish whether they made any physical contact as they walked past each other. And she alleged that he stopped her, clubbed her in the shoulder, ripped through her yoga tights, which she had on underneath a coat and a dress, and shoved 3 fingers in her vagina in front of about 50 people. And he was, after a year of a trial, found not guilty, of course. There was no way he could have possibly done it. Their entire interaction was on video, but he will be speaking about his experience there. A lot of other people, too many to name, but it's going to be a great show there. And if you want tickets for what's remaining, you can go to avoiceformen.com and look in the sidebar for the big old graphic that says, get your tickets here. We're going to be selling them up to the day before the event or until they sell out. We are nearly at capacity now, so everything is looking great for the conference. But if you want one of the last seats remaining, get in there and grab it as soon as you can.
Paul, thank you so much as always. And before I let you go, do tell us also about your website again so people can come visit you and your Twitter handle and every other way they can see you.
You can reach me on Twitter at A Voice for Men. That's at A Voice for Men. I'm at avoiceformen.com. I'd also like to encourage your listeners, Tom, if you like this conversation and the kind of things we're talking about here, please go look for An Ear for Men on YouTube. It's a channel I started not too long ago. I'm producing 2 videos a week specifically about this material. There's already a lot of them on there. We're climbing up hundreds of subscribers a day because people are really enjoying the content, having very direct conversations with videos that I'm producing on there on Mondays and Thursdays of each week. Visit avoiceformen.com. Facebook is I'm banned from Facebook, by the way, for the next 30 days because they didn't like a meme that I put on there that criticized feminism. But we have A Voice for Men on Facebook, which you can find. I can't go there, but you can.
Got it. Paul, a pleasure. And thanks once again for joining our program. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Tom. Keep up the good work, please.
And you, too. Really appreciate that. Thank you so much. There you go, Paul Elam. It's A Voice for Men. Go to avoiceformen.com. That's avoiceformen.com. And a lot of interesting stuff going on over there.